You may know a lot of YouTubers make a little bit of money on the side, a little bit of a side hustle. They might be managing several other channels. They might be doing some money on the side, like for example, going on tour, writing a book that probably no one's going to buy, or of course, starting an energy drink like KSI and Logan Paul. I'm sure you guys remember that a couple of years ago. You had KSI and Logan Paul. They had a bit of beef. They fought a little bit, but then they kind of realized we can actually make more money. How about you and I partner up?
Maybe you and I could partner up.
You and me.
That's right.
I've always found it really interesting when YouTubers delve into the concept of anyone can do YouTube. I remember a couple years ago, Ludwig actually did a video where he created his own YouTube channel, a brand new one, to show that it isn't luck. Now, that video was very well put together, very well researched, had a bit of a mixed reception, but we all like hearing those rags to riches stories. And now, surprisingly, there is a content creator online who basically went homeless to show that anyone can be a millionaire. Looking into this story, it is absolutely golden because obviously, you know, a lot of people, they might start, like I said earlier, a new YouTube channel. They might, you know, handicap themselves a little bit. Oh, I beat Elden Ring, but I didn't use a shield or only one-handed my weapon. But this is he is purposely making himself homeless to prove that anyone can become a millionaire. Now, going into this, before I explain everything, I do think that even if he successfully became a millionaire, I really do think it is one of the most, you know, out of touch statements to make, you know, to basically sell that lie that anyone can be a millionaire, anyone can become famous. Because usually what's been shown time and time again, unfortunately, it isn't who you are, it's who you know, it's connections. Now, this little story regards a business entrepreneur called Mike Black. Now, I know what you're thinking. You hear business entrepreneur, you think it's one of these kids sat there on TikTok flexing all their bands of money, and then they're going to shill some kind of drop shipping scam to you. Now, Mike runs a multi-million-dollar company called Told Media. And if you look at the website here, you can see it's one of those like kind of back-end jobs, I guess. They basically work with companies to help with the recruiting process to like hire the best kind of employees they can to fit a role. Very boring stuff, but one thing you will notice is the most boring kinds of jobs, the ones that you don't really understand, those are the ones that pay ridiculous amounts. Let's read one of the testimonials. When my company had a big project with requirements that shifted and evolved fast, the folks at Told Media were flexible, understanding, and extremely helpful. Their willingness to make things work was paramount in the project's success. Most importantly, the engineers I worked with from Told provided top quality work, executing consistently across a range of technical skills. I loved working with Told Media, and they will be at the top of my list when another big project comes along. Told Media, you truly are saving lives. Now, the way Told seems to work is recruiting, like I said, but basically mostly in IT. I have no idea how the process would work. I'm not sure if it's all automated. Usually, I imagine in most jobs, you kind of just hand in your credentials, you talk about past work experience. But to be fair, as we know, 90% of people that work in IT are some kind of furry. So I'm just going to leave that to them, okay? Actually, more on the furries and IT thing. I do actually remember a pretty popular Twitter post of all these furries that were basically on a plane together. And there was a caption saying, I object to that many furries being on the same airplane, because if there was an accident, it would basically cripple the American IT industry in an instant, which is true. I have no idea why furries tend to congregate to IT, but you know, I'm not judging. Now, Mike even did a little advertisement for his, you know, big $1 million comeback. Here it says $1 million comeback. Watch as I try to go from $0 to $1 million in just 12 months. Now, this does seem like a Ryan Trahan kind of video, and I'll be honest, when I first saw it, I really did think it was, but he's trying to condense everything over the course of 12 months as opposed to, you know, like a 7-minute YouTube video. Also, I like as well, if you go onto the social links on where you can watch it, you've obviously got YouTube, but then you've got Instagram as well. It's like, I do want to be honest, I sound a little bit out of touch. Who uses Instagram anymore apart from going onto the reels? You see a video that's like 4 out of 10 funny, and then it becomes 10 out of 10 once you see the Instagram reels comments are absolutely roasting them.
Hey, excuse me, but I'm La Epic Sigma Rizzler. Yeah, so I'd stay away from little old me. As for little old you keep trying to steal my spotlight, bucko.
One thing I will give Instagram, and it is better than TikTok in every way, the content isn't as good, but the replies are 1,000,000 times better. Now, this was a project that Mike did all the way back in 2020, but it didn't actually seem to get any traction until recently, which, I mean, if he has cracked the code and found a way to become a millionaire from $0 in a month and no one noticed, artist? That sucks. It's kind of like Schrodinger's Millionaire or something. Now, one thing that was interesting about this challenge is he stopped using his name Mike. He actually took on a different persona because obviously, you know, if he's walking down the street, everyone sees him. Everyone sees he's like this very successful multimillionaire. It's like, oh, hey, Mike. Hey, Mike.
Michael, don't leave me here.
You know the video, like the purple guy walking down the street? That is how everyone would treat him. So obviously, he had to adopt a different persona. So he then started to use the alternate name Scott. Now, there was a tweet circulating around talking about, you know, his rags to riches story, even though he's already a millionaire. He's just trying to kind of do it again, I guess, like New Game Plus on Elden Ring. But the tweet that went viral, I think it's on nearly 100k likes right now. It really does like overgeneralize and it misses a lot of details. So to begin this epic quest where he wanted to become a millionaire, again, he emptied his bank account. He went to live on the street and he only took the essentials with him: an extra pair of clothes and a mobile phone. Now, I can imagine loads and loads of people are going to make the argument that you're not really homeless if you have a mobile phone. A mobile phone is, if you really think about it, a huge point of contact. You can look up stuff online. You can book hotels. It really is like, it's just a pocket computer. You can do so much with it. And again, it kind of falls back to that earlier argument I made in the video of it's not really who you are, it's who you know. If he's got contacts, if he's got mobile phone numbers of like people,
Michael,
Davey.
are you behaving yourself?
they might just be able to put him up for the night, making the entire challenge absolutely pointless. Oh, darling, I'm doing this challenge where I'm trying to become a billionaire from nothing. I'm not going to go back to the main mansion tonight. I'm going to go to the second mansion. I mean, to be fair, I could show you my phone right now. I could show you my portfolio of all my stocks I've invested into. But instead, here's a picture of a dog screaming at a water hose. Got this one as well. I could live on the streets and become a millionaire overnight. Now, because he was so dead set on this project working and being a complete success, he actually created a list of rules for himself and also turned it into a YouTube video. So he has said himself on the website, I will have nothing but a cell phone with internet via a cell phone charger, one pair of clothes, a bank account open with $0 and no place to live. PPE, a mask, gloves, sanitizer, and vitamin D. Still have to be mindful of the pandemic. He does actually make a fair point there because, like I said, this challenge was back in 2020 and that's when, you know, COVID was at its peak. Camera equipment to shoot this vlog. it's the fact that he's called it a vlog. Like you can really tell his content creator mindset. It's like, oh, this is a vlog. I'm homeless, but I'm vlogging. You want to get in my vlog, bro? Camera equipment to shoot this vlog, but I can't use any of it to make money or for any of the businesses I start, just for capturing content for the project. Okay, that is interesting. That is very interesting because I so expected when he started this challenge, he was going to do like a Casey Neistat vlog, pull up his camera and, you know, just, I don't know why Casey Neistat does that. Like you've seen him in so many vlogs where he just puts his camera on like the other side of the room, just for like a dramatic shot or something. Hey guys, doing a Casey Neistat vlog. So I'm on the other side of the room now. Now I've moved over here, but it was a jump cut, so you didn't actually see that. And now what I'm going to do, guys, I'm going to play some like royalty-free music I downloaded online for free, or maybe I bought the license for, while I do a quick little montage. Oh. I think I'm gonna be sick. And also, one of the most important rules at the bottom, I can't sell anything I start with to make money. So he basically is saying there, he can't use any pre-existing businesses, anything he owns, or I guess any kind of contacts to make more money. And then he also goes on to say that he can't use any of his resources. Everything he owns will be put in a storage unit and my personal bank account will be drained to $0. Now, I have been harking on the networking a little bit because I did just kind of think, you know, he's gonna act like he's trying to make all this money legit, but he's just gonna call up, you know, one of the boys who will instantly set him up on like, I don't know, some drop shipping scam or something and make loads and loads of money. But he's actually said networking, which is its own tab. I can't use anyone in my network for any help or advice. I'm cutting everyone off. Business relationships, friends, family, everyone I know professionally. Any person I've talked to before July 10th will be cut from helping me for 12 months. He also goes on to say, which is pretty interesting, I will immediately cut off anyone I meet that finds out my true identity or that finds out about this project through any of my social channels. I'll cut them off for the duration of the project. I don't want any unfair advantages. He also goes on to say the $1 million in 12 months can only come from revenue generated from businesses I start during the project or money I make working. Any revenue generated as a result of the YouTube series will not count towards the $1 million goal. Now, I'll be honest, the rules that he set up here for himself, the restrictions, are actually really good, because I have known so many YouTubers that have done these series of like handicapping themselves. I mean, one good example is Alfie Days. 5 years ago or something, he did a series where he was basically trying to survive on a £1 coin for 24 hours. And you'd think, you know, he's going to try and restrict himself. Maybe he can't use, you know, tap water because, you know, you still got to pay for the water to come through. He actually got loads and loads of flack because he used a Waitrose card to basically get a discount at a supermarket. Now, the joke from that is Waitrose is like kind of a high-end supermarket in the UK. I mean, it's nothing insane, but it's definitely more higher end than, let's say, what supermarket can I say that Americans know? A Tesco. There you go. It's a little bit more expensive than a Tesco. And because of that, people labeled him out of touch. And there was a huge backlash around it. I remember like seeing, I know another YouTuber, Jackmate, actually did like an entire video just like ribbing on him. And that video was sat on around like 5 million views. So yeah, at the time, people really disagreed with it. Another important point he brings up is actually in the making money process, he is not allowed to incur any debt. He's not allowed to take on any loans. I mean, to be fair, could you imagine he just walks in, uses his credentials, takes $1 million loan, and then just ends the challenge? It'd be kind of mid. I remember playing Saints Row 1, which is one of the OGs. And in that game, you could take on loans. And if you didn't pay back the loans, you would get loan sharks, that basically these hitmen that were spawned, basically sent out to kill you. I've never taken a loan before in my life, but it's probably something akin to that. So in the first couple of days of this challenge, which sounds more and more like a Mr. Beast video, I'll be honest, I'm actually amazed that Mr. Breast has not tried doing a video like this. He'll probably steal this video idea now, actually, and then do his own becoming a millionaire overnight challenge. But for the first few days, Mike, under the alias of Scott, was traveling around Austin, Texas, and he was basically just trying to find somewhere to sleep. Obviously, the main goal is to get $1 million in 12 months. So that's a lot of pennies to pick up, a lot of notes. He still needs to actually find somewhere to sleep because he can make as much money as he wants, but probably for his own mental clarity, having a bed is a little bit better. I was going to make the comparison, like, you know how like in a Bethesda game, when you sleep in a bed, you're well rested, so you get more XP. I'm actually terminally online. So he reached out to a couple of people and they were basically offering $100 a night for, we're going to call it anal relations.
Did have someone message me on Craigslist that said they'll give me $100 if I let them. I don't think I'm that desperate yet.
Which is, I guess, a very good start. But eventually, Mike kind of realized he needs to make money the easy way. So many people on TikTok and on Facebook Marketplace do this, which is actually the website he used, Facebook Marketplace. Basically, buying stuff at a lower cost and then flipping it and making someone else pay more for it. I will never agree with it. It is incredibly scummy, but unfortunately, it really does help keep businesses alive, and it does also make you a lot of money. Now, that earlier comment I said about helping keep businesses alive, I think more in the sense it keeps hype up. I mean, a good example is Supreme. That was a huge, you know, hype beast brand. They kind of fell off a little bit now. Let's go back 5, 6, 7 years ago. They were huge. Like, look at this, for example, right? I have a Supreme Super Soaker. Why? Absolute waste of money. Why? Because I bought into the hype. Because I'm a loser. Obviously, the point I'm trying to make is people that buy stuff and then basically scalp it and they sell it for more money. I will never agree with it. I think it's really bad. I think it's pretty scummy in the worst cases, because essentially what you're doing is you're buying something and then you're selling it for a markup just to make yourself more money. Therefore, you're making the customer pay more money. The only real benefit I can think about it is it definitely kept companies like Supreme relevant for the longest time.
I think the brand is so fucking powerful that it's making me buy a fucking crowbar.
Because Supreme would always have very limited stock, and then people would buy onto Supreme and basically hold onto it and then resell it for more money, and then you get that feeling of FOMO. Another good example I can think of is Virgil Abloh. He passed away. He was a fashion designer, male fashion designer for Louis Vuitton. Obviously, he did Off-White. Before Off-White as well, he had another company called Pyrex Vision. There was a bit of drama around that. I think something alleged like he was basically rebuying flannels and then just printing his logo on them and then selling it for an insane markup. But still, people do that. And I actually have some of the last stuff that Virgil Abloh released or did collabs with, like this funny little IKEA rug I've got over there, and then I've got an IKEA mirror over there that he helped design. Stuff like that was incredibly limited, and I did not pay normal price. I remember going to Sweden, queuing up in IKEA to like get it at like 7 in the morning, like way too early for an old man like me. And then I found out that everyone already bought them, and they were just like reselling them outside for like 5 times the price. Like, it sucks, but unfortunately, it is just part of like the ecosystem. Now, unfortunately, Mike wasn't actually able to find anything on the Facebook Marketplace. I guess all the boomers were asleep and they're not selling chairs or mirrors with like a them naked in it, which is a real image, by the way, that exists online. Someone on Facebook Marketplace was selling a mirror, and they had no idea that apparently mirrors give reflections. So you could just see like him in his full glory in the mirror, but it's just so bad. Now, even though Mike was recording a Twitter thread at the time talking about his, you know, his time surviving outside, he talks about at one point that he actually had to sleep on park benches.
My bench right here that gonna be sleeping on tonight, so.
If you go through the video series itself, the little vlogs he was doing, he never is actually sleeping out with the cold. What actually happens on the very first night, instead of sleeping outside, he's picked up by a stranger who conveniently lived, I think, like 30 minutes away, and actually offered Mike food and a place to sleep.
I mean, he even brought me food. Is this your bed right here?
No, that is your bed.
Now, armed only with his phone and his plus 10 charisma, Mike took it upon himself to go onto Craigslist. So obviously, he began doing what he was always doing with Facebook Marketplace, flipping stuff, buying things for a cheaper price, and then marking the price up and selling it for more money.
So what I started doing is just taking ads on Craigslist in the free section, putting it on Facebook Marketplace, and selling it for a profit. I just sold my first couch for $100.
Now, in no way am I going to say this is a heroic act. It's not like he's going to a soup kitchen and feeding the homeless, or he's like, you know, doing some kind of like charitable industry that makes him a bit of money on the side. What he's doing is pretty scummy, but unfortunately, it does work. And this is how so many people have made careers.
I officially have $300 in my bank account.
So after this, Mike started getting a little bit more money, a little bit more capital. And what do you do after that? Well, if you've ever played a game of Factorio, you expand your empire. So then he basically started to hire middlemen to, you know, help with flipping stuff, basically doing his job while he got more money.
I had 4 or 5 people reach out to me that want to do deliveries now. Whenever I need a delivery, I have people that are ready to deliver.
Now, he was very clever when he made the rules for this series because he never actually says at any point he isn't able to hire more people. He isn't allowed to expand a business that he's made from the ground up. It's pretty obvious what he's doing. He originally made his money from e-commerce, and he's applying exactly what he learned into being a millionaire. So you could definitely argue that it's like a little bit of a cheat code. It's like, you know, he is basically, in the nicest way possible, doing New Game Plus because he's obviously built up this repertoire, he's built up these skills, and he's using that to then grow his business. So for him to then go around and basically say, oh, anyone can become a millionaire.
All you need is a cell phone with internet, no excuses.
That is still definitely out of touch because a lot of people don't have these kinds of life skills that you've obviously spent years of your life honing and crafting. All I'm saying is most homeless people, probably the extent of what they can do is basically grovel or beg for money.
Get a job.
It's not like they're exactly groveling and begging for money so they can buy a mobile phone and then open an e-commerce site and then start getting stuff for free off Facebook Marketplace and then flipping it for profit. That takes a little bit more know-how that someone that is homeless might not actually know about. So let's do a bit of a time jump, right? We're following this guy for 12 months. He's documenting everything, or maybe, you know, everything he wants you to see. And around week 8, his girlfriend shows up, who was never introduced beforehand. And I swear one of the rules and stipulations was he was basically going to have no contact with his family, friends, or work colleagues. Now, you could argue that he kind of found a way around this because, like, he's hired her. He's basically paying her money to work for him, which I guess that's not really allowed. It's still kind of more of a technicality. But even if he's found a technicality to hire her, it still feels a little bit disingenuous because obviously when you think of someone that's homeless, you usually think of someone that's, you know, outside in the cold and they're without a home. They're alone. They're unhappy. But this is a situation where, you know, he's like getting constant emotional support from like his loved one, which is, yeah, it's not giving the exact same energy as what was meant to be advertised. Now, I'm not saying that I want Mike to suffer in this challenge. That sounds really stupid, really out of touch. I just think, you know, he set up these really good list of rules of what he needs to follow, but he's not really actually following them. Like I said, the first night on the bench, he's not even sleeping on the bench. A random guy comes up and says, oh, I've got an RV 30 minutes away. Again, that might not be staged. It might be a genuine guy just trying to be incredibly charitable, and good on him. But still, I don't know, it just still feels a little bit fake. Now, obviously, Mike at this point is starting to work in an RV, and he's got his hands on a Chromebook.
Oh, you mean this?
Honestly, when I saw the Chromebook, I was kind of waiting for him to say, thank you to Chromebook for sponsoring this video.
It's a nice computer.
Technically, I think he would actually be allowed to do that. He did say any money made from the channel could not be used into the business, but that could just be ad revenue, not actual sponsorships. So he could have done that. I'm happy he didn't. But now he has the situation where his Wi-Fi is kind of acting up.
Oh, it's just not working. Christ, this computer sucks.
So it's turning out that the RV isn't actually the ideal home. Now, eventually, he starts to look for a new place to work. He's a little bit cooped up. I mean, like, you're not homeless anymore, so I would really just appreciate that as much as I can. But then intervention strikes and he gets super, super lucky, which again seems to be like a very common theme with this YouTube vlog series. And he found that there was a co-working space, which was around 5 miles away, and they were only charging around $40 a month. So there was ample space for him, for his team. He got that beautiful little corner office, and it was a perfect place for him to access his iMac. Now, jumping ahead a little bit, he's basically keeping himself afloat by taking on loads and loads of freelance work positions.
I'm gonna pull the reel to your feed on Instagram. Yeah, I'll send it to you. The more content you give me, the better.
So this situation's a little bit strange. A little bit later on, he visits a local farmer's market where, again, that inspiration, it just strikes him, and he's motivated to start his own coffee business, which, to be fair, thinking about it, there's actually an insane amount of influencers. They've all started their coffee brand. I know Jacksepticeye has got his like top of the morning coffee. Emma Chamberlain, who got famous because of like the Dolan twins, she has her own brand of coffee as well. And he's able to basically source the coffee locally through a vendor that he met. Now he finds out that sourcing this coffee is around $1,500. And that, for someone who is allegedly homeless and they want to be a millionaire, that is quite a lot of money.
We need a little bit of money to get started. It looks like we're gonna have to put in like $1,500. Damn, this is a little bit more expensive to do this than I thought it was gonna be.
And it's kind of weird watching the vlog because he seems basically mystified that sourcing local coffee packaging, like it isn't cheap. But regardless of that, he has a business plan and he wants to set it in motion. So he wastes no time to get a photo shoot ready, basically using it so he can start doing promotions as fast as possible. And while doing this challenge, he's updated that his dad has colon cancer and it's pretty bad. And obviously, you know, he just wants to be updated on how much time's left. Now, one thing he does during this challenge, which I totally respect, I'm not going to criticize it at all because that'd make me a fucking monster, is he chooses to not entirely retire the project, but to move back a little bit and move closer to his dad so he can spend more time with him while still doing this challenge. He does have to uproot himself and lose some of the positions, lose some of the businesses he's actually acquired during this time. But still, I just have massive respect for that. The fact that he's still willing to do this challenge while also making sure that his dad's okay. But I guess in like kind of a show that he doesn't want people to know that it's getting to him, I guess, or just to kind of, you know, power through it, Mike is basically acting like it isn't inhibiting his ability to do the actual original challenge series. And it is, but like it would do that for anyone. Now, unsurprisingly, there was another update as well. A little bit of time after, you know, moving back with his dad, he eventually thought, okay, I'm going to start up this business again. I'm going to get straight into it. But because of the stress he was under, he actually developed an autoimmune disease and also a tumor on his hip. So overall, he pretty much lost motivation and just thought it was best to call it quits there. So by looking into it, out of the 12 months of the challenge, 10 months were actually completed, which, like, considering everything that happened, is fucking insane. There isn't much of a way to look into financial details or how much Mike is, you know, being fully transparent with it, but from what he says in the vlog, he made around $65,000 or £52,500. Now, going back to the Twitter thread I talked about at the beginning, because this Twitter thread obviously blew up the fact that this guy was doing a challenge to become a millionaire, because when he did it back in 2020, there actually wasn't that much traction about it. But the Twitter thread itself seems to be a very mixed bag. Some people are seeing Mike as the second coming of Christ, being like, oh my God, we can all do it now because of you. And then other people are just being incredibly, you know, cynical towards him. Wow, that's inspiring. Hard to believe, but such a cool experiment to prove that someone can make $1 million in 12 months from nothing. Definitely not anyone. I think anyone can do it. It's just a matter of dedication and grit. What that guy said that made the original tweet, I really don't like that. I don't like the idea that anyone can do it. Anyone can be a millionaire. If you're not a millionaire, you're just not trying hard enough. I mean, a good example to relate is myself, right? Like, I am wealthy. I'm doing very well off. I'm able to financially support, you know, my family. I am very, very lucky to be in the situation that I am. And am I going to say that it was dedication and grit? Maybe, but I still do think to myself, it's always going to boil down to right place and right time. Because when I did YouTube, I must have been doing it like 7 years almost now. It was a lot easier to get into it then than YouTube now, because YouTube now is a lot more saturated. The meta has changed completely. It's all moved around to basically, you know, shorts and clips that make you go viral. Like, for example, you know, I Show Speed, Jinx, Queso. I mention them a lot because they're like some of the biggest streamers right now. They blew up because of clips. Without clips, no one would know who these guys are because that's just the meta now. It's like when I blew up doing like, you know, commentary videos, basically just copying Leafy's hair, being a complete leech. And I was so bad, I couldn't even play CSGO Surf like he did. So I had to play like Prototype 2 instead. You know, that's just how it happened. And now I'm able to do slop and also do game reviews. And, you know, like I'm able to support myself, support my family, and also hopefully provide content to you guys that you guys enjoy. So, you know, but again, was there a level of like determination there to get to the level where I'm at? Probably, but it still really does boil down to, unfortunately, right place, right time. And in no way am I saying that, you know, whoever's watching this now, you can't be a YouTuber. I'm not saying that at all. I'm not saying, oh, it's the time's come and gone, guys. You should get a normal 9 to 5. YouTube's full here. Please go away. But I really think it does open an interesting dialogue on, you know, what does it actually take now to become a YouTuber? How much of it is actual skill and talent, and how much of it is just complete blind luck? I mean, a good example actually is a video that I saw last week of, for example, in China, you have like all these people that want to get into streaming, right? So you have people lined up just on like the corner of streets with these little ring lights, and they're all, you know, talking to the camera, trying to get you to buy their products. And there's just hundreds of people doing that. And when everyone is doing something, no one is doing something because no one really stands out. Reading more on the tweets here, someone here saying, anybody can be homeless for a day, a week, or even a month. The main problem is the anxiety, depression, and uncertainty of living on the streets. You don't know when or if you'll ever leave your situation. These experiments miss the point. Most people who come from nothing lack two things that Mike does not lack: the previous acquired skills and experiences to pull this off, the belief and confidence that can make you pull this off. Anyone can't accomplish this without acquiring the skills and belief. I mean, yeah, no shit. Someone that's homeless probably isn't going to know how to flip tables on Facebook Marketplace or be like an e-commerce god. Very brave statement there. Now, looking at the stats of the $1 million comeback, I think one of the reasons why you didn't actually hear a lot of people talking about this is because it was, unfortunately, a bit of a failure. Obviously, talking about all the situations of, you know, the flipping, living in the RV, the poor Wi-Fi, the situation with his dad, which I totally sympathize with. He only reached 6.5% of his actual goal. Now, I am very, very sure if, you know, the series took off and he actually reached $1 million, you would probably hear so many people like speaking about this series like gospel. But unfortunately, because it didn't actually manage to get anywhere near the goal, it was kind of lost until it was brought back up on Twitter recently. Keep in mind as well, the entire point was to be homeless, and homeless people, like a lot of them don't have any form of ID. Like in their jurisdiction, they probably can't even get a job. And also, like I said earlier, many homeless people don't have a phone. Now, I do know, because I can feel some people in the comments are going to like try and use this as a counterpoint. I do know that homeless people have phones, okay? But all I'm saying is, just because someone's homeless, do not expect that they are going to have a smartphone. But overall, I really think what Mike did here was a very interesting experiment. I think he really did have good intentions, but I also feel that that kind of entrepreneurial side, it did take over a little bit. And obviously, you know, the health concerns with his dad, which, you know, for him to cancel the series after that totally makes sense. And obviously his own health concerns as well. So what is my takeaway on this whole situation? Okay, I'm going to say something like really in touch here. Definitely not out of touch at all. Being homeless kind of sucks.